And we're ready whenever you are, Mayor.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's City Council meeting. For those who are attending remotely, the camera in council chambers is set up to show those attending in person tonight. The platform we are using has a raise hand feature. You will notice a picture of a hand in the upper right-hand corner. When we reach the point in the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address council, you can click that button to be given your opportunity to address council. Before we stand for the pledge, after we do the pledge, we'd ask we remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of Mayor Wayne Ashley, who passed away on Sunday. Wayne dedicated close to 50 years of public service to this city, 39 years in the police force, 20 years as a patrolman, 19 years as a sergeant. And then 7 months later, he ran for council, was elected, spent 4 years on council, then 4 years as mayor. And so, besides that and the volunteer work he did for different organizations, just an outstanding leader in this community. And so, again, we want to pay our respects for him tonight following the pledge. So please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Tulley,
Here.
Councilor Selly,
Here.
Councilor Powers,
Here.
Councilor Scamperly,
Here.
Councilor Stevenson,
Here.
Councilor Trim,
Here.
Councilor Weaver,
Here.
quorum present.
We have two presentations tonight. The first is from Madeline Clark, American Red Cross Disaster Program Manager.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Madeline Clark. I am the Disaster Program Manager for the American Red Cross of Eastern New York here in the North Country. And I'm here tonight to talk about and engage with the community on an upcoming event we have on Saturday, April 27th, called Sound the Alarm. Sound the Alarm is a yearly, we do it every year. It's done by National Red Cross, and it's a campaign to install smoke detectors in as many homes as we can across the nation. This year in the North Country, we will be holding our very own Sound the Alarm event here in Ogdensburg. It will be from 10 to 2 p.m. and we will be taking calls from anybody who requests a smoke detector. We install them free of charge. They have a 10-year lithium-ion battery, so they do not need to have the batteries changed. And we also offer a hearing impaired or differently abled alarm available for people. So we have strobe alarms. We also have something called a bed shaker, which sits under your mattress and shakes the bed if you're not able to hear the smoke detector. So as I said, we will be doing this event. Our goal is to have at least 20 homes have smoke detectors installed in them. If we exceed that goal, that's amazing. We are working in collaboration with the Ogdensburg City Fire Department, Office for the Aging for St. Lawrence County, and St. Lawrence County Office of Emergency Management. We would also like the city to partner with us, get the word out, come out and volunteer. The Red Cross is actually 90% volunteer based. Only 10% of the people who do the mission of the Red Cross are paid employees. So we literally cannot function without volunteers and partnerships. That's how we get the work done. I also would like to just note that the reason we are doing this event is because preparedness saves lives. In New York State, we have saved over 100 lives with our preparedness education campaigns like Sound the Alarm. The way that we kind of quantify this, we keep record of every home we've ever installed smoke detectors in, or we've done an education presentation to, and then we cross-check it with a list of places that we have been requested to assist people after home fires. And of those two lists, 100 people are alive today because of that work. Nationally, within the United States, over 2,060 people have been saved by these efforts. So it's incredibly important that we keep these campaigns alive and engage with our communities with volunteership. The reason we are doing it here specifically in Ogdensburg is in March of 2022, we had a very large fire over at the Riverview Towers. And I was actually part of that sheltering event. We set up a makeshift shelter for over 100 persons over at Wadhams Hall. Many of those people were living on public assistance or had physical and mental disabilities. And it was incredibly empowering to see how this community came together and took care of some of its most vulnerable people. So we would like to honor that with the Sound the Alarm event. If anybody is interested in joining the Red Cross and working with us to make sure that our neighbors and our communities are safe during disasters, not just home fires, I can also provide contact info for myself and my office and our volunteer partners, and we would love to have you. So that's about it. If you have any questions, I'll take them. If not, thank you for my time.
Thank you, Madeline. Council, any questions or comments?
Do you have any social media postings that we could share or
Yep,
make available?
yes, we have a flyer that's been included in tonight's minutes. I've also provided it to Andrea, and the county has it as well.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much, Madeline.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madeline. Our next presentation tonight is a 2024 Quarter One Financial Review presented by City Controller Angela Gray.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just to, excuse me, start off, I wanted to review the first quarter sales tax collections. We haven't touched upon this yet this calendar year. The charts were sent to you in advance through the weekly update. And the first chart has the months of January, February, March, 2024 versus 2023. And that is showing that we have average monthly collections of $201,000. In order to meet the city's budget, we need $217,000 collected monthly. So we're about $16,000 a month short, extrapolated out, comes to a number of about 180,000 roughly. The second chart is a chart that shows a rolling 12 months of collections. So you can see there is some volatility in the bars of this chart. So one of the ways that we take this chart is we look at the averages monthly on a rolling 12. And when we average these 12 months out, we get a monthly average of $229,000 per month. Sales tax, since we've preempted in the city, has always been one of those budget items, very important to the city. It is our second largest revenue, and one that we constantly look at what's budgeted, what is collected. If we take the two charts and we average the Q1 2024 average of $201,000 against a 12-month rolling average of $229,000, we would have a monthly average based on those two charts of $214,000. There's a couple ways to look at averages. So with that being said, sitting here at the end of 3 months of collections, it's hard to determine if we will meet budget, but if we do, we'll be slightly, in my prediction, over or slightly under. If we're only looking at Q1, we're going to be significantly under. So we'll continue to put this information in front of council and keep you abreast of the 2024 sales tax collections. Are there any questions?
I don't know if it's possible, if they do correlate or not, but do we know, let's say St. Lawrence County is experiencing the same downfall on average?
They have reported, Mayor Tully, I believe, don't quote me on this, that they have shown a decrease of sales tax as well. Our decrease in sales tax revenue Q1 2024 over Q1 2023 is a 13.5% decline. My memory seems to think that that is on pace with declines in other areas for sales tax, but I can certainly provide more information on that.
I'd be curious to see if there's some way to determine if there's a correlation or a similar experience elsewhere
We can
in the North Country.
provide that.
Possibly a couple other communities as well, not just the county roles, but
Sure. We can do that. 2022, 2023 audit, they are continuing to progress. 2023 will be done in our timeline that we spoke about. I would imagine we will be getting a meeting together with the audit committee fairly soon for those matters. On the April 22nd meeting, we will be providing to council and the public a complete financial report, which would show you the details of each type of revenue and spending that we have. But in advance of that, I just wanted to give you a preliminary update. The city has collected 100% of its real property taxes, which is our largest revenue in the city. That budget line is completely filled at $5.7 million. This change has been a significant and positive cash flow change for the city. Years prior, 2020 prior, the city has always had a tax anticipation note historically at this time of year, and then our collections would come in the spring. So this has been a positive change for the city. The appropriations, when you see the report, they will indicate that spending is on par overall by department, where we would anticipate it to be. Anytime you budget for 12 months and we've only expended 2 to 3 months of expenses, everybody shows that they're below budget. So it's a little preliminary to kind of really focus in on that. One of the positive things that we do have happening in the 2024 year is our interest income that we budgeted is coming in significantly over budget for the first quarter at 50% over budget. So this was a line that if the trend continues, we will recognize over $100,000 in excess of our budget. So that may be a place, should the sales tax fall short slightly, that we would offset those two items. And just to reiterate that on the April 22nd meeting, we will have a detailed presentation with a Q1 operating results for the city. And in that presentation, we will also focus on the cost of public safety due to some unanticipated injuries and overtime that is affecting the budget early on.
Questions or comments? Thank you, Angela. Look forward to your next report.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We have two proclamations this evening. The first is to recognition of National Library Week. And before I read the proclamation, I'd like to invite members of the library board and friends of the library to join us up here so I can read the proclamation while you're with us, and then we'll get a group picture.
Would you like to sit in my seat, Jerry?
No,
You sure?
no, I want to sit on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're good at least stand.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. We'd love to be standing.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Well, thank you.
Hi, Tom. Ken, go ahead.
Proclamation of the Office of Mayor, City of Ogdensburg. Whereas libraries are not just about what they have for people, but what they do for and with people. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions, and library workers and librarians fuel efforts to better their communities, campuses, and schools. And whereas librarians are leaders in their institutions and organizations, in their communities, in the nation, and in the world. Whereas librarians continue to lead the way in leveling the playing field for all who seek information and access to technologies. Whereas libraries and librarians look beyond their traditional roles and provide transformative opportunities for education, employment, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and engagement, as well new services that connect closely with patrons' needs. And whereas libraries and librarians lead their communities in innovation, providing STEAM programming, maker spaces, and access and training for new technologies. And whereas libraries are pioneers supporting democracy and affecting social change with a commitment to providing equitable access to information for all library users, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And whereas libraries lead in working with diverse communities, including people of color, immigrants, and people with disabilities, offering services and educational resources that transform communities, open minds, and promote inclusion and diversity. And whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Michael Tooley, proclaim National Library Week, April 7th through the 13th of 2024. I encourage all residents to visit the Ogdensburg Public Library and explore what's new at your library and engage with your librarian. Because of you and our library leaders, libraries transform. In witness whereof, I hear unto set my hand and cause this seal to be affixed. Okay, we'll pass these down to the clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you for your service.
Andrew, did you want to get a picture?
No, it's fine. I have them with all of you.
Oh, okay.
She was sitting out there.
I will send them to Penny. And we'll put them on our Facebook page as well.
All right, our next proclamation is for Arbor Day from the Office of the Mayor, Ogdensburg, New York. Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Ogdensburg has been recognized as a Tree City, USA, by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting practices. Now therefore, I, Michael Tooley, Mayor of the city of Ogdensburg, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2024 as Arbor Day in the city of Ogdensburg. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused this seal to be affixed. We do not have any public hearings tonight, so that brings us to personal appearances. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium and you will have 5 minutes. Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raised hand feature. The city clerk will recognize and unmute one person at a time, and you will have 5 minutes.
I do not see any hands raised.
And that brings us to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence tonight?
We do not.
Thank you. Next, our consent agenda. That the claims as enumerated in General Fund Warrant 7-2024 in the amount of $564,935.55 and Library Warrant number 7-2024 in the amount of $0 and Capital Fund Warrant number 7-2024 in the amount of $195,958.67 and Community Development Fund Warrant number 7-2024 in the amount of $120.98 and Community Renewal Fund Warrant number 7-2024 in the amount of $0 as audited be and the same hereby are order paid. I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
approved.
We have one appointment tonight, and I will make a motion to appoint Joanne Giroux to a 3-year term on the Pride and Beautification Committee, term to begin April 9th, 2024 and end December 31, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? We thank Joanne for stepping up into this service. Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
approved.
That brings us to items for council action. Our first item of business pertains to a resolution to establish new fees for the municipal land clearing debris landfill that was tabled at our last meeting. Does any member of council wish to make a motion to take this item off the table?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
approved.
City staff is recommending an amendment to this resolution, which I will ask Public Works Director Shane Brown to read.
A resolution establishing new fees for the municipal land clearing debris landfill. Whereas the city of Ogdensburg operates the municipal land clearing debris landfill for the disposal of grass clippings, leaves, and brush. And whereas a supplement to the city's brush pickup program, residents are able to dispose of yard waste at the land clearing debris landfill at no cost, including trees and limbs up to 6 inches in diameter and 6 feet in length. And whereas the city of Ogdensburg Council desires to establish fees to regulate use of the landfill by contractors and for disposal of oversized limbs. And whereas oversized limbs are those in excess of 6 inches in diameter and 6 feet in length. And whereas after the review of the rate scheduled by staff, the city of Ogdensburg Council hereby establishes fees for the land clearing debris landfill as follows. Oversized limbs and contractor rates. Less than 6 cubic yards, which would be like a small pickup truck or small residential trailer, $50 a load. 6 to 10 cubic yards, which would be up from a small trailer to about a single axle dump truck, $150, and 10 to 14 cubic yards, $350. Be it further resolved that these fees will be reviewed annually as part of the budget process.
Move that. Second.
Any discussion on the amended resolution?
Shane, thank you for considering our suggestions last month. It looks good.
Any feedback? It doesn't have to do with the resolution. I can ask later.
You know, I know the gentleman from Messina contacted me and I put you in touch with him. Any update today on the possibility of multi-municipality?
I didn't get a chance to reach out to him today. We're
Okay.
tied up on other issues, but I'll try to reach out to him this week. I know he was going to speak last week, March 29th. They had a thing over the new county building and he was going to talk to everybody over there about it.
Good.
Try to get a system going to apply, to add to his grant to see if we can get one to share throughout the county.
For all the municipalities.
Yep.
Yeah. That would be nice. I think the county should take the lead on it. You know, per our discussion and the discussion I had with the gentleman from Messina as well. And you know, they've got the money, more than the municipalities. Better watch myself. But I do think they should take the lead, and because oftentimes what happens with these shared service agreements is one municipality or another will end up picking up most of the tab. And then, you know, another municipality will use a piece of machinery and it breaks or something else. And we don't really get our use out of it. I think we should push for the county to maybe do that, you know, take the lead on that. The other larger municipalities can use it. I think the smaller municipalities have more room.
More room, and I
Brush.
think their piles don't get as big as quick, so that they're able to burn them in the
Right.
areas they're at. We're kind of restricted with the solar area being right there, and the power lines are pretty high close to them in that area.
Yeah, and being the old landfill, I know that was always an issue when I brought it up before. Didn't really want to burn there. Start a ground fire or something
I
like
think,
that.
yeah, after the ice storm, I think it did burn down and started underneath that fire.
So, but it would be nice to get something and save all the municipalities money and maybe the county.
Yeah.
So,
Any further discussion? Kathy, will you poll the council for the amendment, please,
To amend.
to amend?
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes,
approved.
and now we'll act on the resolution as amended.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will also be read by Public Works Director Shane Brown.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an agreement with Alliance to lease purchase a 2026 MV 607 SBA dump truck from Onondaga County Contract, ONGOV-106-19.
I'll move that.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a few questions,
Sure.
if I may, please. The dump truck that we're purchasing, I believe my recollections on my notes from previous, probably 2019, was that we had looked at a dump truck on a lease that was multi-purpose. It was going to have a front plow and it was going to have the box. Morristown had one similarly. We were going to try that. I thought that it was a very favorable thing because it would cut down on two plows having to run side by side. So it would save us money in manpower and in gas and maintenance fees. Whatever happened with that unit that we had agreed on?
We purchased it. It's a 10-wheeler, which is a larger truck than this,
Okay,
and we do use it with big storms. We just
Okay.
mainly keep it on the main drags because, it's,
would this have any of those capabilities?
this will have this will have an underbody plow, just like our regular single axle dump trucks.
But anything with a front plow or
No.
anything? No? Okay.
To add a front plow, that now what we had on that one, I think is about 125,000.
Additional?
The prices have just gone through. I mean, we bought a new single axle, I think it was in 22, and it got delivered early this year, late last year. And I think the price has gone up between 20 and 30,000 in 2 years.
Because I think a lot of the other benefit was the manpower needed
Yep.
and the.
With the larger
maintenance of
truck,
vehicles, et cetera. Okay.
It was newer equipment. I'm gonna gather our wings that we put on our loader probably are 30 to 40 years old. They're showing their age pretty bad, but they're upwards of, $100 and some thousand. So we keep putting them back together.
Well, thank you.
Okay, Jen?
All set.
Okay, anyone else? Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Controller Angela Gray.
This is a resolution to establish a reserve fund for capital equipment in each of the respective funds, the general fund, the water fund, and the sewer fund.
I'll move that.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Angela, I'm very glad to see this happening. It's something I suggested in my previous term of council. It didn't happen then, and I'm glad to see it coming to fruition now.
For those that are watching, could we just explain why this is so important for us to do?
Sure. The ongoing capital needs of the city are every single year. And without a reserve in the savings account, if you will, every time a capital need comes up, absent that, it tends to be, if it's not budgeted, an emergency expenditure. So what we tried to do and are attempting to do is starting to build some reserves out of unappropriated fund balance within the city's budgets, both general, water, and sewer. So this is a perfect example where we know in 2 years, we need to purchase a dump truck for $150,000. And we will be forcing the council in that 2026 budget to create an appropriation based on a decision 2 years prior. So with the reserve, we are committing to a future expenditure and also pre-planning a way to pay for it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
It also, it doesn't count as our fund balance, right? When the state's looking at whether we have our reserve.
That is correct. So there's different types of fund balance. This particular one with this action becomes a restricted fund balance. So just for simple math, if we had a $500,000 fund balance and council says we want to reserve $50,000, the amount of unappropriated or able to be spent fund balance going forward is $450,000. So this is forever reserved, and council has to actually approve an expenditure out of it. So it's a very deliberate spending of fund balance with an extremely specific purpose.
It can't be siphoned from.
That is accurate.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Andrew, or excuse me, Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Counselor Weaver?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mayor Tooley?
Yes.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Controller Angela Gray.
This is a resolution to reserve funds for capital equipment purchases in the general water and sewer funds.
I'll move that.
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
So this is to move 50,000 into each reserve fund.
That is correct. So we will remove 50,000 from each unassigned fund balance in all three of the general fund, water fund, sewer fund, a total government-wide reserve of $150,000.
Andrew, how's that going to affect our budget for this year? Was something that was planned or unplanned or gonna put us in a bind?
It will not put us in a bind. Each of these funds has a unassigned fund balance that can absorb. We're literally chunking out a piece of it and moving it from the right pocket to the left pocket. So the fund balance is there. It's just specifically appropriating or designating a piece of that fund balance for a specific purpose.
Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Counselor Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Tooley?
Yes.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Controller Angela Gray.
The following is a resolution authorizing the city manager to modify the sewer fund for costs related to the EFC environmental planning grant. This is a resolution to modify the 2024 budget, whereas Section C65 of the Ogdensburg City Charter permits the transfer of an unencumbered balance in an appropriation made for one department or agency to another department or agency, or the transfer of any unencumbered balance in an appropriation made for a division or office to another division or office in the same department upon written request of the city manager. And whereas the city was awarded and accepted an Environmental Facilities Corporation engineering planning grant, and whereas the city has entered into a contract with Environmental Design and Research, also known as EDR, to prepare the inflow and infiltration engineering report in accordance with this grant, and whereas the city is required to pay a 10% match of $10,000 upon acceptance of the grant, And now therefore be it resolved that the city manager is hereby authorized to make the following budget adjustment to the 2024 budget necessary to meet grant requirements. This budget amendment calls for an increase in the appropriation code G8120.515 in the amount of $10,000, which is sewer maintenance consultants. And this is to be moved out of the fund balance.
I'll move that.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
approved.
That brings us to old business. Does anyone have any old business to bring forth to council tonight?
Your Honor, we just acknowledged Arbor Day. Traditionally, we've had, and then maybe since COVID, we've slowed down on it a little bit, but an event for Arbor Day. Is there something planned for this year that I've missed?
Well, it is planned for Arbor Day, which is the last Friday of the month, which is the 26th. And the Tree Commission will be meeting this Thursday to finalize the plans for that. And following that meeting, you all will receive an invitation to the ceremony.
Thank you so much.
It's likely going to be Friday morning. That's typically what it is, but the details will be finalized on Thursday.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
I don't know if it's old business or not. Mayor, I'm sorry, Jen.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead, please.
Shane, I know that we are going to look to have the DEC take a look at our landfill.
Yep.
Anywhere on that yet, or
Not yet.
probably not going to happen overnight either, is it?
No, probably not, but I'll reach out again and see if we can get something here soon.
To follow up with Councilor Scamperly's comments earlier, possibly reach out to Mr. Forsythe, Mr. Reagan, and maybe Ms. Doyle to see about some kind of shared service for large chipper or something mutually agreed on, or try and get that rolling, because I worry about that landfill. Last thing I want to see is a stopping to have us have the ability to bring things into it. And so, I think the quicker we can get something rolling on that end would probably be suffice. And speaking with some in the public as well, they would, a lot of people that would come and take some wood chips, for fill or it's not very decorative as far as mulch, but it can be utilized. So.
That was the sentiments of the DPW director, Messina, that called me too. He watched our meeting and prompted him to give us a call. He agreed and wanted to start organizing these other communities. So it was good. Nice that he was watching.
And one other, I don't know if this is considered old business either, but at one point we were pretty knee deep in through the FRP program, through the State Financial Restructuring Board, as far as leasing vehicles. That kind of went to the wayside in the web, and we're still doing it, but we cut back significantly on that fleet. Am I correct to assume that?
We
Initially?
do lease vehicles through Enterprise Fleet Management, and I'm not going to give you incorrect information, so I'll circle back with all of the departments that have vehicles and give you an update on that.
That's it.
Anyone else old business? Brings us to new business. Does anyone have any new business to discuss this evening?
I have an item, Your Honor, but I don't want to keep going first.
No, go ahead, Jen.
I've had some neighbors contact me about the buildings at the intersection of Riverside Avenue and Franklin Street. And the buildings are looking unsecured and very unsafe. And they have seen people entering and exiting those buildings. So maybe we could do something to get those buildings secured. That just came to me over the weekend, so.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
The old Augsbury buildings,
Oh,
in
down
Franklin
here.
and Riverside Avenue. It's a big concern down there. And that's all I have here.
Thank you, Jen.
On that topic, I noticed that there's several buildings coming down through the city. I'm assuming you had something with the land bank that's going on.
The land bank is doing demolition. They have completed the demolition of 411 Main Street and 521 Rensselaer Avenue and 809 Mechanic Street. 801 Caroline Street is scheduled to be demolished.
I just was wondering, I haven't seen any of them yet that didn't need to go, so just thank you.
The neighbors were asking me over on Mechanic Street how soon that could be done. I do know that you've given them an update regarding the asbestos
Lead.
testing and things like that, because they have to do a second test, right?
The lead testing came back in excess of 5%. And so it has to go to Onondaga County. So we don't typically do business in Onondaga County. So it's taken a little longer to set up an account there and get everything in place to haul the debris to Onondaga County, but that should be happening this week.
Okay, good. Good, thank you.
Anyone else do business? That brings us to items for discussion, and we'll begin with interim city manager Andrea Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. So just wanted to give council and the public an update. We did the annual, it's not really an annual, we did the renewal of the request for proposals for the concession area at the Dubisky Center. We last did that 3 years ago and provided for a 3-year arrangement with the former concessionaire that expired this year. So we put that out to bid. The deadline for proposals was April 3rd. It was April 1st, but we extended it to April 3rd. We did not receive any formal responses to that RFP, which we had intended to bring to council for action this evening. We did receive interest from some entities that have since looked at the property, the space, but at this time we do not have any responses. And so I wanted to let council know. So if you wanted to take any, we're not requesting formal action at this time, but if council wanted to do anything different or had any specific questions, happy to address them.
Your Honor, I had someone reach out to me. It was very late this afternoon by the time I could take care of it with other business I was transacting. That they had sent a request in or a proposal in on April 4th. Are we in receipt of that?
I did not receive any proposal. The instructions were to submit them to the clerk's office. I don't believe Kathy did.
It was CC'd to me and I didn't get it initially.
I did not receive it.
And Andrea, so it was sent to 3 of us. So I'll share the information with you and perhaps you could reach out tomorrow with them and see where the glitch went on, because it was sent. So there may have been something with our email, because it was all sent to city emails. So maybe there was something that caught it.
Sure.
All right, I'll share that. And I would have done it earlier, but it was very late this afternoon.
Yep, please do.
Thank you.
Right? Anyone else item for discussion?
I have one, Your Honor.
Yes.
I've spent 45 years with Wayne Ashley, in service to the city. And I think we need to strongly think about some type of memorial plaque or recognition plaque to go somewhere recognizing his service.
I agree, Storm. I'm glad you brought it up because it was on my checklist. He's really quite a community player. I remember interacting with him as a when he was a police officer. Not that I got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Well, I'd say working with Sergeant Ashley, working with him, not being handcuffed and dragged.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because when I talked to his grandson Jacob this weekend, I told him he had a good Andy Griffith style of police work sort of to him. You know, he wanted to take care of it as a community rather than throw the book at you usually and things like that. And of course, I served with Wayne on this board for 8 years and several as his deputy mayor, and it just it hits you hard. It hits you hard. That's when we really developed the relationship. I think we talked almost every day on the phone and, about policy and all sorts of things. Just a great guy. I mean, in the community, he supports our waterfowl group that Mike and I are on. He's a hunter, a fisherman, everything, and just what a great guy. And I thought the same, if we could do something to honor him, that would be nice. He's just had so much time dedicated to the city that he deserves it, I think.
Yeah, well, that's something's idea that I think has merit, and so maybe on behalf of council, I can get together with Andrea and staff to talk about what might be appropriate, not to diminish his service on this council for 8 years, but it might be appropriate to have him recognized at the police station with a plaque for his 39 years of service to our police department. So let me have some discussion with Andrea about it, and we'll bring some ideas back to council for consideration, and we'll move forward from there. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I have just one comment. There was a lot of activity in the city yesterday, and it was well noted by the community and visitors, the police presence and the presence of our fire department as first responders, and it was good and felt good to see them out and about and just covering the whole city. So very good job on that to the entire city staff. Andrea, thank you for that, and police chief and fire chief for all of that extra work they've done, and DPW as well. So thank you.
And just to echo that, I'd also like to recognize the city's solar eclipse committee that was chaired by Laura Pearson of the St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce for their work and their interaction with city and county administrators, public safety, to make the viewing of the eclipse as safe as possible. Also, special mention to the Augsburg Public Library, the Frederick Remington Art Museum, Fort de la Presentación Association, and the Augsburg History Museum for the various programs they provided to the public to help publicize the eclipse, to help educate the public as to what we would experience. And truly, for many of us, it will be a one-in-a-lifetime experience. So thanks to all those individuals who gave of their time so that all those who are interested can enjoy that event. And then another item I have, City Council was pleased to learn yesterday from Interim City Manager Andrea Smith that on April 6th, the Child Advocacy Center of Northern New York held its annual masquerade ball. And at this event, Augsburg Police Sergeant Polniak was honored as Hero of the Year by the Advocacy Center. Sergeant Polniak was selected for his dedication to seeking justice for child victims and his efforts at the multidisciplinary team. Sergeant Polniak is the school resource officer at Augsburg Free Academy, and we salute Sergeant Polniak for this honor.
I just want to echo the mayor's appreciation and congratulations to Sergeant Polniak and the entire police department. It's a very prestigious award that can be given. It's a tri-county award given to one individual in St. Lawrence, Jefferson, and Lewis County. It can be anyone in the field, a nurse, an attorney, a prosecutor. The specialties vary. So very, very proud of Sergeant Polniak and his achievements. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. So that brings us to citizen participation. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium and you will have 2 minutes. Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raise hand feature. The city clerk will recognize and unmute one person at a time, and you will have 2 minutes.
The first individual is registered as Greg McNamara, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted, sir.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, I just wanted to call in with some more of my thoughts about the new dump fees that you all just voted on. This isn't trying to beat Shane up at all. He did exactly what you asked him to after I spoke at last meeting. What I was trying to get across last meeting was I think that the amount per yard, depending on what size loads brought in, needs to be the same, to be fair. So on the resolution you all voted on, like the first tier, and each of these explanations would be if you brought the maximum amount per each tier. So the first tier, the pickup truck or small trailer load, if you bring in the most amount, you're paying $8.33 a yard. At the second tier, it's off right around $15 per yard, and at the third tier, it's $25 per yard. I just worry if that's legal or not, and if a dump can charge people proportionally like that. And I hope I didn't confuse anyone when I called in at the last meeting about this, about hurting the little guy. Before it charged the little guy more, now it's charging, if you're bringing a bigger load, more. I think it should be kind of even throughout the whole, all three tiers. And I would just assume that it would have to be legally. I don't know. I'm not an attorney. The only other question I have about that is, was this resolution reviewed for its, and signed off for its legality by the city attorney, like all, resolutions are supposed to be per the, excuse me, per the administrative requirements? Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Kathy?
I do not see any other hands raised.
All right, I will make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss proposed, pending, or current litigation.
Second?
Kathy, call the roll, please.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
approved.
We do not anticipate any action, so I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just a note that we will be inviting interim city manager Andrea Smith and city attorney Scott Goldie to join us in executive session tonight.